David Morgan with you at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, January 2020. Well, 2020 vision, we're going to focus in on the mining sector, and I have Tyrone Docherty with me. Let's go by Doc, it's a lot easier for me, and I know you sign off that way. So we talked about Deerhorn Capital last year, but for those that missed that investment pitch presentation, can you just kind of review that for us and then bring us up to date?
Yeah, Deerhorn's a very unique property here in British Columbia. It is a high-grade gold silver, which is not unique. There are companies out there, but we have a great mineral called tellurium that's with a very rare metal that's very popular in batteries and solar panels, so it gives us an edge on anyone else because no one else has a 43101 like we do with tellurium. So it's quite interesting. We get people in the industries asking us, when you go into production, we need that supply. So it's nice to have a unique mineral.
So is it considered a rare earth element? Or?
It's considered a rare metal, yes. Either the 7th or 8th rarest metal in the world, same scarcity as platinum.
So it's 15 times rarer than gold.
Correct.
And how much do you have at this point? Do you have an M&I on it, measured and indicated?
Yes, we've got, what's unique, Dave, is that we've done, with our property, we've concentrated on only 20% of our known zone that we did our preliminary economic assessment on, because our idea is, which is anathema to most junior companies, is we want to get this into production sooner rather than later and add to our tonnages as we go down the road through cash flow. So we have right now, we've got 100,000 ounces of gold, 3 million ounces of silver, and 100 tons of tellurium. And tellurium sells for approximately $100,000 a ton. So it's nice, and it's not our main metal at all. It just happens to come with the gold and the silver. To be honest, when I got into the property, I didn't know what tellurium was. I didn't know we had it. But it's nice to have a unique metal like that because it's opened up a lot of doors, as I mentioned, in industries. Because there's a lot of research being done now on a lithium tellurium battery. The main company here is based in Trail, British Columbia, called Phoenix, F-E-N-I-X, Phoenix Technologies, and they're one of only 2 companies in the world that can do 7N technology, which is 9.99999% purity. So they contacted us because we are the only company with the only 43101 reserve of tellurium, and if their research is successful, they're going to be needing a big supply of it down the road. So that's one of the developments that happened after we met a year ago, is that we were approached to get involved with the battery research, and some of the partners are University of British Columbia, some European institutions, some companies in Victoria called Redland Technology that works with the United States military. So these are all events that happened after we had our discussion last year. But it's probably, of the 2 main developments that happened last year, it's probably the lesser one. The first one, which makes us unique as a junior company, is that we got involved with the First Nations business. They approached us, and they have an agreement with a company an NGO out of Washington, D.C. called Resolve Inc., which has been in business for 42 years, 43 now this year. They go around the world solving problems such as bringing fresh water to people that need it, bringing education to young ladies that aren't allowed education. Worked with Matt Damon and Intel to develop an anti-poaching camera in the Serengeti. And they decided that one of their latest developments that they wanted was to clean up the placer mining destruction here in Alaska and British Columbia and help save the fish, salmon. So what they do is they've cut a deal with the placer miners in Alaska and now in British Columbia that once they finished mining their gold, they go in and rehabilitate the ground, and then no one's allowed to mine for 1,000 years, whatever the case is. And their corporate partners who have guaranteed to buy all the gold, part of the salmon gold, is Apple and Tiffany's. So they've taken all the gold. So that's who our partners are. And that development happened literally either the day I spoke to you or the very next day. So our development as a corporation said, okay, we can go out and do our drilling like we were talking about last year, or we can develop these other sideline issues that make prominent Deerhorn as we move forward because of our great relationship with the First Nations. They approached us to be their partner through my chairman, Tony Fograssi's background, as we mentioned last year. So for the people out there mining right now or exploring that don't understand it's a new world out there, that you better be able to take care of the planet. This is what we've done. So while some of our shareholders would have preferred us to just keep drilling and drilling because we have a phenomenal property, which I'll talk about later on. But we have now established ourselves as being indirect partners with Apple, and Tiffany's. And not too many juniors can say, as a matter of fact, no juniors can say that. And it took about 4 months of vetting from the NGO in Washington, D.C. to find out who we were. Would they be embarrassed by getting involved with that? So, we couldn't tell people what we're doing, so we had an initial agreement. And since then, because of our connections with governments and First Nations, is that the initial thought process has expanded. So Salmon Gold, our partner is Chiona, is our company with the 51% owned by First Nations, 49% by Deerhorn. And it's led by a First Nations entrepreneur who's been known for 50 years. He helped Premier Campbell here with some of the Indigenous regulations. He's helped with Government of Canada and all that. So they approached us, and it's going to be an interesting situation because I said to some of the shareholders that phoned up, they said, yeah, it's been a year in the making, but we will get cash flow. We are getting cash flow from this, and the program will expand. I said, so at a bare minimum, we hope that it's going to at least pay for our G&A. I said, I don't know how many junior companies, you've got cash flow coming in, we don't have to keep diluting the stock and all that. So it makes us different. That's why we thought it was well worth it. So what that's done to us with this First Nations Chiona, which by the way is called Chiona Metals. Chiona means wolf in both Tahltan language and Kaska language. So the relationships are very good. But the original reason we got involved with the First Nations is that everyone's familiar with the Golden Triangle in British Columbia, as rich as you can get on the planet. Well, there's a whole area right to the east of them that has been basically underexplored, because until about the last 10 years or so, there's no way to get up into the Golden Triangle. That's changed. So the First Nations have decided that they now want to take literally and figuratively ownership of the area. They figure they just want to be people that let people come into their territory. They want to be shareholders and stakeholders. So that was the original reason they approached Deerhorn, was that they'd like us to form an exploration company, go out and look for properties that they know of through hundreds of years of fishing and hunting that no one's ever had access to. So they approached us to go out and look at it, stake the claims, and either develop it ourselves or, sell it, option it, whatever the case is, and split the proceeds, because we're talking an area in excess of 100,000 square kilometers. So, Dave, I don't want to let the shareholders scare them thinking we're going to go out and stake 100,000 square kilometers. We're not. The First Nations people already know certain areas that look very, very good indeed. But this is what we're going to do, which is different. And to put it in, I guess, the simplest form, for the non-First Nations people, if they want to develop properties, not only in British Columbia, but Yukon, rest of Canada, it has to be approached differently now. If you are serious about building a mine. If you only want to go touting your stock and drilling and all that, that's a different game. That's not what we're playing. We're talking about building a company. So what we're going to do this spring and summer, when the weather allows, we've already got an area targeted. We're going to go out and look at the area, take some samples and so on. And we're pretty sure we know what the answer is going to be, but we want to go and do it. And then what we do, which is different, instead of legally going on the computer system and staking the ground, which we could do, we are going to go and talk to the requisite First Nations Council and say, by the way, you know who we are, Chiona, and all that. We'd like your permission to go and stake this ground so we can develop it. And we anticipate that it'll be successful. But what it is doing is basically laying down the new foundation of how the First Nations want to be respected. In other words, if you're going to come into our backyard, at least you can come and talk to us first. So those companies that have either intentionally or unintentionally bypassed that and said, okay, we're just going to stake ground, good luck to them down the road getting permits or not having the chance to respect these people. That's what we do. So that was the original intent of Chiona, was to go and develop this area. So as you can imagine, if we're literally to the east of the Golden Triangle, is virgin ground. If there's 100 million ounces of gold in there and billions of tons, the chance it's over here, it's probably reasonable. Maybe it's 10% of that, but we're going to be the first ones in there. And that's what we've been doing for a year, is building this company, because we know we have this great property, the gold, silver, tellurium property, high grade. And then we made the decision this fall is okay, because when I talked to you originally last year, we're going to go and do some drilling and explore. And we decided as a corporation, hold on a sec. We know it's special. Our PEA, the guy said 2 years ago it was a 1.6 year payback based on $1,300 gold and $17 silver. Well, with the prices it is, it should be a little bit quicker than that. So we've decided we're going to work towards a 10,000 ton bulk sample. So we can get that out within the information will then lead us to make a decision to go into production. And we feel very confident that we'll be able to pay for the bulk sample and all of the information, because the average grade of the gold over 10,000 tons will be approximately 9 grams of gold per ton and 265 grams of silver. And tellurium's there, so it's very rich indeed. So we don't think it's much of a gamble, but it's the information to go forward and put it into production. So that's what we've been doing, building a company, which is frustrating for me, because when you talk to people, all they want to know is what's your drill results here, what you're doing there. They don't understand we're actually building a company. So those people that are looking for excitement and the next big drill hole, go over there. Someone that wants to find out, well, where's this company going to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years? And that's why we're moving on the small mines permit. We believe that within 3.5 to 4 years, we could be in production. And this is when I have a difference of opinion with a couple of the newsletter writers, if you will, that say, oh, your project's too small, and I explain, well, we're working on only 20%. We already know the answer to the other 80%. Instead of just drilling and then having a bigger mine and waiting 15 years for a permit, I mean, I'm not getting any younger. Mm-hmm. I haven't found Benjamin Button. If I do, that's a different story. Get into production, make some money, and then we can drill the rest of it. But meanwhile, we can take advantage of gold and silver prices moving up, and with the demand on tellurium. So from a corporate point of view, we've got the environmentalists happy with us because the tellurium's used in the batteries and solar panels. We've got, and also, we're cleaning up the placer mining with Resolve. We've got the high-grade gold and silver, so there's money to be made there, and people seem to be happy with the First Nations participation on our own. So there's no other company doing out there what we're doing, and that's the frustrating thing, is that when people hear the story, what's your next drill hole, as opposed to, do you not understand what we're doing? And luckily, one of your subscribers last year who saw our interview keeps phoning me up and saying, okay, this is all you're doing, right? All this stuff is true. I said, yes, it's true. And he said, well, if you can get into bed indirectly with Apple and Tiffany's, you must be doing something, And thank goodness that they take so long to Resolve to check us out, and their vast networks are unbelievable, So I know it's supposed to be short on that, but that's what's happened since the last year. So it's just fantastic, and share price hasn't gone anywhere because it's not the action that people want. So as a result of that, I end up owning more of the company. So the only one I have to answer other than my shareholders is my wife, who said, why do you keep buying this stuff? And all the time. And in the long run, she knows what's going to happen. But it's a phenomenal company. I mean, those are our partners. So,
Tyrone, that is quite a story, and it just keeps getting better and better. Where can people find out more information?
Our website, Dave, is deerhorncapital.ca. Phone number 604-916-7259, and my phone's on 24/7.
Well, I appreciate hearing from you, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you again. And this tellurium story is great, and so is everything else you told us. So thank you for your time.
Wonderful, thank you.